Subaru equals Flugel. Subaru also equals Aldebaran, and Aldebaran also equals Flugel, and Satella equals Amelia, and Otto is Pandora, and Sirius is Fortuna. Every single character in ReZero is actually somebody else. Certainly due to the airing of Arc 6 in the anime, Subaru equals Flugel posting is at an all-time high. For better or for worse, I have oftentimes gone against the grain. Arc 9 resetting is probably one of, if not the worst ReZero theory that has ever been created. So now naturally, it's time to do it once again, putting myself in the line of fire for potential mockery and lashings to suppose the ultimate truth. No, I don't think Natsuki Subaru is Flugel. I would say even more so than Al equals Subaru, this is likely the most pervasive theory in the fandom, and to its credit, it's not as easy to disprove. With Al equals Subaru, there is, in my opinion, hard evidence that points to the contrary. With Subaru equals Flugel, it feels a bit more nebulous, more conjecture-based, but still conjecture I will. It should be noted that everything I say in this video is simply my opinion. It's very possible that Subaru equals Flugel gets confirmed in the future, and I'm just gonna have to hold that. No hard feelings. Let's split the conversation down the middle. Diegetic arguments that will focus more on things presented to us by the text, and exegetic arguments that will focus on more thematic and broader ideas. For the diegetic points, I'll be referring to things like character motivations and stuff like that. So, for example, the picture of Flugel were painted with the story by the people that have met him. The arc that we find out the most about Flugel is in Arc 6, which has a very distinct theme attached to it. People in positions of power and the people of yore aren't exactly what history might make them out to be. They're nuanced as well, even if the tales from the past only speak of their strengths. This was seen with Shala not actually being the sage she was chalked up to be, with Reed not being the hero he was portrayed as in history, and finally, with Flugel in the truth of his circumstances. We hear tales of him being a smart and kind person, but the details of his actions that we gather throughout the story paint, well, a not-so-kind person. Which, if you ask me, is where the first wrench is thrown into the Subaru equals Flugel industrial complex. Nearly every single command or action we hear that Flugel has taken does not fit with the image of Natsuki Subaru that is painted at any point in this story, even at his lowest. Shala had received the command from Flugel to snipe anybody and everybody that tries to come to the watchtower. Natsuki Subaru would not do this. The same Natsuki Subaru that feels an intense respect for life, to the point where he was surprised himself even as far back as Arc 1 when he couldn't just sit back and let Felt and Rom die even though he thought that would be an easy choice to make because they were criminals. He could not sentence them to death. This is backed up in Arc 10, when Subaru's even horrified upon seeing Roy's corpse. He thinks that there was no decent meaning in plundering the life of another. Shala was put into an exposing outfit, treated poorly by Flugel, and then abandoned for 400 years. Natsuki Subaru would not fucking do that. Even at his Arc 3 lowest, he did not necessarily show a respect for the agency of the women around him, spouting misogynistic phrases and violating their autonomy. Never, however, did he go to the extent that Flugel had seemingly gone with Shala. He would not damn something he indirectly created to live in solitude for 400 years. Speaking on Beatrice, even though he didn't indirectly create her, he did the exact opposite, freeing her from her hundreds of years of borderline isolation and uncertainty about her future, and explicitly also in Arc 10, Subaru holds anger in his heart towards Echidna for what she did to Beatrice, refusing to let it go. Shala says that it's unlike Master to dunk on himself when Subaru is shitting on Flugel. I'm sorry, unlike Subaru to dunk on himself. Who is this? The guy who has episodes and episodes of content berating himself, thinking everything is his fault, thinking he is inadequate and a failure, and says as much for 20 minutes fucking straight in Season 1, Episode 18. That's Subaru. We think that Subaru, the guy who has built an intimate relationship with life and death because of Return by Death, to the point of being radicalized against most forms of death and hating when the loss of life is made a mockery of, would be involved in the makings of the Books of the Dead and piloting the corpse of Reed Estrella, operated by Grok. There are so many inconsistencies with the Subaru we know that I have a hard time seeing Flugel as anywhere in the same zip code of morality or values as Subaru. Now, of course, just like I do in the Aldebaran videos, it would be unfair of me not to point out the similarities they do have. I think we can make an argument that both Subaru and Flugel could potentially be the types of guys to shirk taking credit for their accomplishments. Shala also considered Flugel to be the kind of guy who can't die. I mean, like, surely that one sounds familiar. And given Shala's method of Flugel detection, Flugel and Subaru share the same scent as far as she is concerned, and well, it's probably safe to say that the scent is the witch's scent that clings to Subaru, the smell of his return by death. People have wasted no time pointing out that this scent is generally attached to people that have the love of Satella, and because of that, Satella loves and attaches all these actions to Subaru that had happened when he was Flugel. The issue with this line of thinking is, in my opinion, it's the presupposition that Satella loved Flugel to begin with. Could she have? I mean, it's possible, but it's not something that we know, yet assumed by the fandom to already be true, and that's because it seems that the witch's scent clings to Subaru because of her love for him. It's an easy inference to make, but there is an elephant in the room for this topic. Not everyone who has the witch's scent is loved by Satella. Back during Arc 3, when heading to the Burial Mansion to ask for Priscilla's help, Subaru was joined by Rem and Aldebaran. According to Rem, she picked up a suspicious smell from Aldebaran, causing her to not really trust him and telling Subaru to stay vigilant as well. Aldebaran carries a scent of his own, despite, in my opinion, explicitly being unloved by Satella. This to me is proven by 2 instances. First is the side story, Sunlight on the Water, in which due to the effects of the area they were in, they were manifesting the person they most wanted to see. Aldebaran was shaken, collapsing in fear because Satella had arrived, and strangely, despite the visions being capable of saying things, Satella never once says the thing that she pretty much only says. Not a single I love you uttered to Aldebaran. Additionally, during Arc 9 when Aldebaran unleashes the Witch of Envy upon the sand dunes in Reinhard, Aldebaran says that even if this world was destroyed, that will keep ignoring him, after all. In my opinion, this explicitly proves that being loved by Satella is not a prerequisite to have her scent. It may just coincide with it. It could be something as simple as having to do with particular authorities, because it's probable that Flugel had at least one. The dynamics of the 400 years ago group are largely unknown, and to presuppose that Satella loved Flugel because of the scent is jumping the gun too hard in my opinion. Circling back to arguments of Flugel being far, far too removed out of Subaru's character, I can already presume the response. Well, in this if, or in that if, or in this other if. Here's the thing about an if. An if is generally an instance of a differing timeline that is predicated on Subaru or another character making a decision they wouldn't make. If they would have made that decision, it would have happened in the main story. It's like a little bit of a nudge from the god of ReZero, or, the author. If Rem would have made the decision to go with Subaru to Kararagi, well, she would have done it. But she didn't. If Subaru would have accepted Echidna's contract in Arc 4, he would have done it. The ifs are cool concepts, but they're just that. Exploring concepts of where the story would have gone if the characters were just a little bit different. If the primary point of Subaru equals Flugel is that, well, maybe, potentially, possibly, in a reality that nobody has ever seen or witnessed and one that has never been witnessed about, Subaru was a totally different character down to his base values and ideas, then, well, I don't think that there's a point at all. But let's just go with it for a moment. Let's assume that Flugel is Subaru, but also nothing like him in any regard. If Flugel is so far away from the Subaru that actually exists in ReZero, so different in every way, shape, or form, the question about Subaru equals Flugel becomes this. Who cares? If Flugel is Subaru, but not Subaru, why the fuck should I care about this Subaru's journey when he's so far removed from the concept of the character that I've come to know and love, becoming a husk of that character and only embodying him in name alone? Well, I guess even at that point he stops. There is no value to be gained out of it. Oh, this is how Subaru would turn out if every single aspect of him was different. Okay, cool, dude, I don't really care. There's not even a big shock value from it, because everyone and their mom is already presupposing that Subaru is Flugel, so it's not like it would be a gigantic twist or huge reveal. Aldebaran's identity is a prime example of how Tape actually writes these things. He leads you to believe a twist, then subverts it, but also still makes it interesting by not exactly making it, the total opposite. If we wanted to explore alternate versions of Subaru, well, congratulations, we did it, without sacrificing a chunk of the story. We already have Roswell, we already have Aldebaran, we already have Todd. These are instances of characters that show what could have been for him without, being him. But even if we don't want to accept these arguments, I think the strongest piece of evidence that Flugel and Subaru are different in some fundamental way was recently uncovered by friend of the channel and translator Garkar. While flipping through Arc 6 in Japanese, he noticed a distinction that had gone unnoticed in the ReZero community for years. When Shala refers to the true name of the library, not the watchtower, the spelling and pronunciation are ever so slightly different. The difference is minor, so I'll put it on screen to help you notice the difference, but the fundamental aspect here is that the version used by Shala and the name of the library bestowed by Flugel is more commonly associated with the Greek myth of the Pleiades' Seven Sisters. Whereas the version of Pleiades used by the series throughout its entire runtime, and when referring to the watchtower, it refers primarily to the Pleiades star cluster. So why does this matter, you might ask? Think about this. Flugel's name for this tower is related to Greek mythology, not explicitly the star cluster, even though Subaru loves to name things after stars and always has. Additionally, while the witches just so happen to have names of celestial objects, they aren't stars. They're things like moons, or scattered disk objects, or asteroids. This is because when we just find shit, we just kinda name it after Greek mythology. The witches may not intentionally be named after celestial objects, but instead bear the names of Greek mythological figures. Do you see where I'm going with this? Flugel is not necessarily naming things after stars, but mythology in general, since Sekhmet is actually Egyptian mythology. Subaru connects the archbishops to stars because those are star names, but never once does so for the witches because they aren't stars, and he may be unfamiliar with mythology. A difference of myths versus stars. Another interesting thing to think about is Betelgeuse. This guy has been around since the Flugel days, but he has a star name, doesn't he? Hey, wait a minute. Betelgeuse, not Beetlejuice. At first, I thought this was just because he was incompatible with his authority, so he did not receive a proper name. Let's keep in mind that, per Tape, this isn't a typo, and he said that the spelling is intentional. However, if we look at the Japanese Wikipedia page for Beetlejuice, there is a small section on the common misspellings for Beetlejuice. It says, outside of astronomy books, it is sometimes misspelt as Beetlejuice. What am I getting at with this? It's simple. Flugel is a fucking LARPer, who kept making minor mistakes about the stars because it's not something he is well versed in. Petaljuice, not exactly star-related names for the witches, and a different spelling of Pleiades that Subaru never once makes, not even when he makes the Pleiades Battalion. And additionally, if Subaru is supposed to be Flugel, why would Subaru intuit that there was a Merope floor even though apparently that was built after his departure and it's implied he should know about it? Merope in the star cluster of the Pleiades is dim, so dim that she earned the title of the Lost Pleiad, as unlike the rest, its apparent brightness made it the last to be discovered in the cluster. For a star nerd like Subaru, of course he would consider Merope. If you're thinking in mythology terms, perhaps there is a reason you would neglect the Merope floor. Do I know what that would be? Nope. This is just something to speculate on. A fundamental knowledge gap between Subaru and Flugel that cannot be answered by Subaru having a different experience in this world. So again, for Subaru to be Flugel, he has to not be the Subaru we know in any capacity. And I ask again, what feels narratively satisfying about this besides being able to sit back in your chair and feel the dopamine of guessing perhaps the least interesting and most expected plot twist of all time? If you ask me what I thought it would do for the story, I do have an answer for you. Subaru is relatively important in the place we know as the ReZero world. That concession must be made. He was brought here through external means and given return by death for a reason. He plays some important aspect here. That concession, however, does not mean that Subaru is the most important figure in the world. ReZero makes this painfully, agonizingly clear throughout its first 4 arcs. Despite being summoned, Subaru was not granted overwhelming power. Despite being summoned, Subaru was not granted automatic love and affection from his peers. Despite being summoned, Subaru was unable to move forward without first addressing the issues that dragged him down even back on Earth. Being summoned did not give Subaru the right to play God. Being summoned did not give Subaru the right to trample upon the agencies and hearts of people like Amelia and Beatrice. Subaru is not so special that the world bends to suit him regardless of his flaws and the mistakes he makes. Natsuki Subaru, at no point in time, is ever given the easy way out. Due to his unimportance, his insignificance, he must thrash, fight, scream, bleed, and cry to attain the things he wants. Because all Act 1 of ReZero tells you over and over and over again is that you are not the center of the world. The common rebuttal to this core theme of ReZero that is beat over your head so many times in novel text that I don't know how anyone could disagree is Priscilla. People find her to be a contradiction to this, and I understand why that might be. Priscilla does find herself to be important, yes, but she does not diminish the roles of others in order to do so. She loves it when people thrive and fulfill their purpose in this world. That's why she didn't lash out at Liliana for rejecting her. That's why she works alongside Aldebaran as he tries to find a place for him in his identity post-Geenenhive. That's why she rejected Natsuki Subaru in Arc 3. She grew irritated with him and kicked him aside because Subaru was not living true to himself, but rather, still navigating the world with his inflated sense of ego and entitlement, and due to that, Subaru was acting against how he should. He threw away his loyalty to Amelia to bask at Priscilla's feet. Similarly, when Priscilla pokes and prods at Al by calling him the name he doesn't want to hear, it's as if it serves a reminder for him, that he cast away the identity of Aldebaran to live on as Al. So I don't necessarily find Priscilla to be a contradiction of the themes of ReZero. She can be brash and rude, but especially in her final moments, displays her sincere love for the world and the people in it, only wanting people to live as authentically as they can. This is all to say that Subaru being Flugel would fundamentally, and pending execution, do irreparable damage to some of the core themes of early ReZero, and I can't think of a single good thing that comes from it. You upend the beginning of your story and the messages you were trying to impart. You give an unsatisfying and uninteresting answer to a mystery that has been brewing in the background for hundreds of chapters, and you make your world smaller by slowly decreasing the amount of people that were actually isekai'd and actually had an influence on your world for nothing. Just like all the videos or theories that are predicated on the concept of debunking another, the inevitable question is, well, what's your idea? And that's fair, of course. Flugel's tree is an interesting thing. We plant trees in which we will never get to sit in the shade of for the people to come. This can be interpreted literally. Flugel planted the tree so that someone could use it one day, but it can also be interpreted metaphorically. Flugel had laid the pieces on the board that he was capable of in order to create the conditions required to kill Satella. The Witch of Envy went rampant, she devoured half the world. The heroes were incapable of killing her, and thus she was sealed under the ground, and the Pleiades Watchtower was erected there. Satella is the common link between our 3 more or less confirmed isekai characters, and all of their experiences with her are different. Can I prove that Flugel hopes that someone comes and kills Satella? It's a bit difficult. That may be disappointing to hear, but there really is just nothing about Flugel out there for us to use or speculate about. All we can say is that Satella was sealed, likely because she cannot die, and generally you seal something in hopes that something can be done about it later. and no seals are permanent. Given Flugel's general demeanor and love of violence and death, I wouldn't be surprised if that was his intention, but again, this could easily be upended. What we do know is that Echidna was involved in the 400 years ago party and by proxy Flugel, and Echidna, through Aldebaran, had attempted to kill Satella. Aldebaran was groomed, tortured, and raised to be the strongest existence that could not be defeated so that Satella could be felled, and per Echidna's words after Aldebaran's defeat, is that someone else will have to carry Flugel's will, before Olshamacking Aldebaran and sending him into the future. Flugel, Aldebaran, then Natsuki Subaru, the final link in the chain. Subaru cuts down Flugel's tree because he rejects the roots and branches that Flugel has laid. He rejects Flugel's will of killing Satella. He even rejects it to her face when Satella asks him to come kill her. He won't do that. He will absolutely save her. Bucking the ideas of old heroes, Natsuki Subaru will save the girl in distress who took on a power that tore her apart from the inside. And speaking on Echidna, let us not forget that she distinctly separates how she references all three of these characters. There's Flugel, there's Aldebaran, and there's Natsuki Subaru, uniquely called by his name in kanji, something the series almost never does, except for things like the Books of the Dead. If any of these characters were the same person or if Subaru were Flugel, I suppose that she wouldn't feel the need to say separate names. That's because Flugel is not Natsuki Subaru. Flugel is not Aldebaran. Subaru is not Aldebaran. They are a chain of history that all influence each other and interact with the world in their own unique ways to form a gigantic, cohesive world of ReZero. This is my own personal perspective, so I put it at the end of the video, but truthfully, after Al doesn't equal Subaru is almost confirmed, I think it's quite pertinent to take a step back and reconsider every X equals Y theory that exists, because it has become abundantly clear that Tappei does not want things to be that obvious, and he will spend a decade plus baiting it before pulling the rug out from under you. This includes ones that are taken for granted like series equals Fortuna. They all need to go under re-examination in my opinion. But that is my case for Subaru not being Flugel. Too many distinct morals and values, too many potential knowledge differences, the untold damage it would do to the story should it be true on its face, and how I think ReZero has far more moving parts than a single guy. If you disagree, that's perfectly fine. I just wanted to get this out there so we can see how fucked I am in a couple years. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe for more. You can also check the description down below to become a member, which gives you benefits like early videos, membership badges, and cool custom emotes. You can join the Discord where we talk about ReZero, Kagurabachi, Jujutsu Kaisen, and all kind of stuff. Additionally, you can go to the channel store and pick up some awesome stickers made by our channel artist, so you can carry the power of Graphia with you on your water bottle. That's about it though. Thank you for watching. See ya.